I try and see my personal tutees around 3 times a year, once every term. Some need to be seen a bit more often and some are a bit more elusive, so I might need to chase them by email. If there is a particular concern about a student, whether it's in their clinical practice or to do with their academic work, if it's a module that I'm leading, then yes, certainly other members of our team will contact us as personal tutor just to touch base with that student and make sure that everything is okay, because it could be that there are issues going on that we need to find out a bit more about. I try to meet my new tutees that have just started the course as a group during their welcome week. There's a slot scheduled by my colleagues that run the induction for that, but that's really just a quick hello and for them to put a name to a face, and then I will ask them to email me with an introduction and then set up a one-to-one meeting. And ideally it's best scheduled before they go out on their first practice placement, because nursing is a huge challenge in terms of getting used to the requirements of the course, both academically and professionally, so preparing the students for their practice experience is really important, and I think personal tutors are a big part of that. Anything and everything really. It could be worries about the course, it could be homesickness, it could be issues to do with their practice placements, which can be really challenging for them. It could be any number of things. So I think you need a wide range of skills really to be able to signpost them in the right direction. I'll introduce the resources that we have available at the university quite early on as a matter of course with every student. So for example, the SSGTs I think are really crucial, and we rely heavily on our SSGTs in the School of Health Sciences to provide support for students. So there'll always be one person I'll direct them to. Other resources might be within the school, such as other module leaders or the course leader, or there might be university-wide resources like the Student Union, Student Services, Health Services, things like that. So I tend to start off with the school resources and then introduce others if there are issues that come up with a student when I'm talking to them that I think they could benefit from some specific outside help. Otherwise I'll just generally talk to them about their well-being and their course experience in general and try and tease out any issues in the course of our conversation. And sometimes, a bit like a GP consultation, the student will add in the real issue right at the very end that they haven't quite been confident enough to bring up early on. Yeah, because part of our role is to obviously discuss with them how their academic work is going, but also how they're getting on in placement. So it's nice to catch up with them either just before they start or just after they've finished one. Occasionally, it's also possible to go out into practice to those areas where students are working and see them in situ if you like. That's sometimes possible, but for practical reasons we can't always do that for every student, so that's quite dependent on the situation. Very little really. We just ask that they bring their assessment and practice document, which is a paper document, so that we can document our meeting, and it also gives us an opportunity to look through how their achievements are going in practice, which is how they're recorded in that document. But other than that, I tend to let them set the agenda and take the lead really in what they want to discuss. I think it's as a sort of point of contact for really advice, support and signposting, I think. So that personal contact for advice and support on the course from someone who teaches on that course, but also as an important person to direct the student to the right services that are available at the university, because there's so much support available and students aren't always aware of what they can access, or they will have had a lot of information thrown at them during their induction week and it's just a case of re-highlighting some of those services that they may have forgotten about. What I think we are not is a counsellor, and that's, as a nurse obviously we have skills perhaps that we can draw on, but counselling isn't part of the role, so it's quite tricky to maintain the boundaries sometimes if you're not careful. I think it's just really about remaining professional, because we're not their friend and we're not a counsellor because that's not our role. So what we are is that general source of advice and support, and I think it's recognising the limits of your own competence, which is an important part of nursing practice as it is, which is what we are helping them to understand throughout the course, and knowing when something's outside your range of competence, and also obviously being well aware yourself of what services are available and trying not to encroach on the specialist provision that they offer. If it's a general academic query about, I don't know, critical thinking or writing at a certain level or study skills in general, then I'll direct them towards the Ask website, for example, or I might go through a few examples with them in order to illustrate what I'm saying. Sometimes I'll also send them a helpful document maybe, or a link to something that I think they might benefit from after the meeting. Sometimes it's helpful to bring a piece of work with some feedback that they've received, because decoding feedback sometimes is a challenge for students, especially when they start the course. So helping them understand what markers might mean by certain comments that they've given them, and then helping them to find ways forward to address that particular bit of feedback if it's something they're disappointed with. I mean, equally it'd be lovely to do that for positive feedback, but of course it tends to be where they've not done as well as they might have hoped. That's again where boundaries can be tricky, because students might ask you for specific help on a particular assignment, and that's when I would refer them to the module leader for that particular assignment, in order not to provide conflicting information or to give them wrong information or send the wrong message. So it's always about helping them find the most appropriate person to answer that query. I think read the guidance that's available, and obviously the new website's part of that. I think it's really helpful having some guidance around what is and what isn't part of the role, because it can be very, very variable, obviously. I think also talk to your colleagues. Definitely talk to your colleagues, because it's difficult to sit in on somebody's tutorial for confidentiality reasons, but it's really good just to pick up areas of good practice and tips and advice from colleagues in your school that have been doing that role for a long time. And also, just like I said before, just being aware of your boundaries and trying to remain professional and not do anything that you are not really qualified to do in terms of knowledge or advice that's really somebody else's domain. Yes, I think it's helped my development, because it helps you develop your communication skills, your listening skills, which are so crucial, and empathy as well, because our students have a lot of pressure, and especially on the nursing course where they're studying 45 weeks of the year, whether that's in university or in practice, they have an awful lot to juggle. And I think trying to hear what the students are saying and empathise with their experience is really important, and that one-to-one conversation that you have with a personal tutee gives you the opportunity to do that. And I think it's just helped me understand also what services are available in the university and in the school to support students. It's helped me, for example, understand learning support plans better and things like that, and I think it's just quite a rewarding part of the job, so I enjoy it.